All right. Welcome, gentlemen. So today we are going to talk about how to form a corporation or an LLC, right? Um, this is the basic first steps that you're going to take. We're going to walk you through the process real quick. And this is a live client that we're about to deal with. What I'm about to show you is something that we are actually getting ready to do. So I'm going to try to keep any vital information out of this because we're recording it, and then of course we load some things up online to try to teach people what we do. So I'm going to try to keep out relevant information, right? So I'm gonna this is going to be an interactive session. I want to kind of ask you guys some questions and see what you guys understand about the business formation process. So let's start from the beginning. Somebody comes to you, a client, and says, "Hey, I have this idea for a business. I want to start it. How do I start it?" And they say, "Better yet, I'd like for you to start this business for me. I'd like for you to incorporate it or choosing a structure, the whole nine." Well, the first thing is what? What is the first thing you think you need to do with that client? And the answer is right there.
Just find business that they want to do.
Exactly. You have to really pay attention, listen to that client, and get a firm understanding of that business. What is it that what are the needs that the client is trying to meet with that business? What are the wants that that client wants from that business? And what's that client's actual abilities to conduct that business, right? Because let's take for instance, let's say I wanted to start a pharmaceutical company. Well, I don't have a degree in pharmacology. I don't have a science degree. I've never worked in a pharmacy. I don't know nothing about mixing drugs and scientific tables. I don't know none of that stuff that it would take to run a pharmaceutical company. So would that be a good thing for me to go and say, "Hey, I'm about to open this company up and it's going to be pharmaceutical and I have no idea how to run a pharmaceutical company"?
No, no, because you want to stay within like realistic boundaries of the person.
Exactly, exactly. Because at the end of the day, that business success is based on that person's knowledge and understanding of the business. And even a bank will tell you, they won't invest in a company where the owner of that company doesn't understand or have never been in that area or that field. That person needs a track record, right? So let's take this client for instance. This client's name is Manuel Braga. He's been a client of mine for a long time. Um, so in talking to him, of course, I've spoken to him a lot. And one of the things I've gotten to understand about his business is he is actually right on point with the business that he wants to create. So to give you an idea why I say why he's right on point, Mr. Braga, his background, his entire history for the last 22 years has been in hotel maintenance, and he's been involved in a big way. Like he's been the superintendent of the hotel. He's fixed things. He's the person that also buffs and polishes and cuts the grass and lawns. And I mean, he's been in all phases of the property upkeep and management. So, what do you think Mr. Braga's business idea should be?
Uh, Open up like a cleaning service or like hotel management cleaning service type of thing. Or
Exactly. So after Mr. Braga and I have spoken for a long time, and we've assessed his skills, we've assessed what he loves to do, we've assessed what he would even want from a business, and this is the idea that he himself came up with. But he came up with it as a result of the conversations that we've had, as a result of us taking a deep dive into his likes, his dislikes, his love of work, what motivates him in the morning to get up and work in that environment for 22 years. So the fact that he loves getting up, he loves doing what he does, and he's made a lot of good friends and connections in that industry that he can now parlay into contracts for his own company. So with that said, in creating a company for your client or for yourself, the first thing you need to do is get to know your client or get to know yourself and get to understand if this is the business for you based on your abilities, your likes and dislikes, right? Then comes the research. So the research part of this is very simple. All right. Now, you want to ask yourself the second thing is ask yourself the basic question. What type of business structure do I want to be or do I need to be? Because when you say you want to start a business, it's more than just starting a business, because now you're entering the realm of the number one thing that you've got to be concerned about is taxation. When you start a company, taxation is the thought of the day. So in doing so, what I always tell people to do is utilize the tools that's in front of you. We are blessed right now where Google should be our best friend when it comes to a lot of our work. So I would tell you right now, simply go to Google and do a search that says, what are the corporate structures, right? Because you have to have a full understanding of the corporate structures and how they affect you tax-wise. So just off the top of my head, I'm going to give you the first corporate structure, which I never recommend, right? And you may not know that it's a corporate structure, but believe it or not, a sole proprietorship is actually a corporate structure. Are you guys familiar with a sole proprietorship?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, is it more or less like it's not like a fictitious name, but just operating under, as yourself, basically like with no protection, so to speak.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's the key word of a sole proprietorship is no protection, which is why I never recommend someone do any type of business as a sole proprietorship. As a sole proprietorship, you are liable for anything that happens within that company. And when I say you, I mean you personally, your personal funds, your personal bank account. Oh, I think I just lost. Who did I lose? Jonathan? Yeah, here he comes. Okay, so your personal bank account, everything is up for grabs when you're a sole proprietorship. So to give you an example, um, let's say you wanted to give me an idea, business idea, anything.
Computer repairs, electronic repair.
Okay. Let's say I know a lot about computers. I am the one of the best computer repair people on the planet. And I feel like I'm good enough to start this business. So I go out there and I start making up flyers and business cards. And I even put out a website, Andy Newby Computer Repairs. Call me. People call me. They're giving me jobs. I'm taking it. I'm taking their monies. And I fix someone's computer and return it to them, and they plug it into their wall socket now to go and use it after I repaired it. And the computer catches on fire and catches the room on fire that they're in. And by the time they put it out, they've lost all their clothing and, you know, the smell damaged everything, water from putting it out, damaged the floor to the tune of $25,000 to $30,000 of damage. Okay, because the apartment building they live in is also gonna want their money for fixing the apartment back. So let's say now that person is like, well, that happened because the Andy Newby fixed my computer, and he did a faulty job, and when I plugged it in, it caught on fire. So I'm gonna sue Andy Newby. Well, guess what? That person has the absolute right to sue me, but that person now has a right to sue me and get every dime I have in my personal bank account. If I opened up a bank account under the business name, they get that too. If that's not enough, then the courts can force you to sell your personal items, your car if it's paid off, your stereo system if you got a nice stereo, your jewelry if you wear nice jewelry and they come and see it in the assessment. Anything that the court comes and sees when they do that assessment after the lawsuit is fair game. When they pull your credit, if they see things on there that they didn't see during the assessment, they have a right to ask you, and you have to answer truthfully, where are those items, because they can confiscate those items for sale to settle your debt. So do you see how that just literally ties up your whole life, possibly, if you make one mistake?
Yeah.
Okay.
So what's another good option besides that? That's you just broke down the sole proprietorship, right?
Yep. So that's where I'm going to show you guys how we do that research. Okay. Again, I could sit here and I could tell you, you know, the next one is the C-Corp and then the S-Corp and then LLCs and so forth. But again, you know, I want you guys to get used to the idea of using the tools, because our tools. All right. So I'm going to go now. I'm going to switch to Google just to show you how we do this. Let's see. All right, so Brother Braga's business is in Pennsylvania, right?
Yeah.
So what are you seeing my Google search?
Oh no, I don't. Nope.
Okay, I figured as much. All right, let me switch the share screen.
Question, Andy. Should I just
Yes.
should I just put this on a different part of my book? Because I have the financial classes or whatever.
This is another workshop. So create another workshop section for this one and call it business formation.
Business formation. All right.
Yes. All right. So now you guys should be seeing the Google page. All right.
Yeah, I see it.
You seeing the Google's page?
Yeah.
Okay, good. All right. So no matter what, no matter who calls you, what state they're in, whatever the case is, because remember, we're going to be doing this for everybody all over the place. So let's say Manuel Braga calls, he calls our office and says, I need a business started. I turn it over to you, Jonathan.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, Jonathan, I have a client for you. He wants to start a business, right? Let's say that's all that I tell you. You would then pick up the phone, call up Mr. Braga and says, hey, Mr. Braga, I'm with Cover Me Worldwide. I've been assigned to help you develop your business model. And I want to talk to you just about your business so I can get a better idea about the business that you want to start. That's when you get to know what type of business and so forth. Then he's going to say, okay, well, what type of structure should I be? Am I a corporation and so on? all you want to do is go here, and you're not gonna do this with the client. This is your self-education when you're putting his whole profile together, right? You can just simply go here and say, okay, you could how to that's another client. I want to get you guys trained because I want to start turning some of these people over to you. All right, so you just go to how to start a corporation in whatever state we're looking at. So right now it's Pennsylvania. And what's gonna happen, it's literally gonna pop up a whole list of things, right? Now, the first thing that always pops up are the companies that you have to pay to do your paperwork, right? These companies here, they do the same thing we do. They just charge a fee for every line of paperwork that they do. So you might start off either free or at $25, but by the time they're done, you've done paid like $1,500 for them to do your paperwork. So what we want to do is go to this section. You see right here where it says to establish a corporation in Pennsylvania. Here's everything you need to know.
Yeah.
Okay. Whenever you put in that search, you will always have this page in any state that you put it in for, right? All you have to do is click on that page and it will let you in. And when you get in there, this is going to lay it out for you step by step, the requirements that that state needs in order for you to create a business in that state.
Quick question, Andy.
Uh-huh.
The first thing you told us to Google, it said, what are the type of businesses you said?
Yes. What are the types of business or corporate structures of a business? We're gonna search that next. I think I gotta plug in. My computer is moving a little slower now, but I see my battery is low. So let me go get my charger.
Yeah, I get my charger too.
I think I do see somebody. We have 280s, which is the vector for the day.
All right, I am plugged in.
Moving around.
Hold on 1 second,
This
guys.
is a bit worrisome because 2.5 weeks ago, this truck caught nothing. This is not good news. The fear of infectious disease and the total loss of shelter and infrastructure.
All right. So this first page just simply outlines every single thing that you would need to do, right? I've created a shortcut on it. So I'm gonna go to my shortcut, but I just wanted to show you where all this stuff comes from. So after I do all of that, I create my shortcut. But now, Jonathan, you wanted to know about the corporate structures, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's do that.
So, as I'm looking at the first list, right, that you showed me, the list of stuff, it says shop by products, find a lawyer, legal articles. So these are different things that I would be looking into. Like I would tell a person to find a lawyer.
No.
First.
No.
Okay.
What we're looking at are just the steps for the formation. So it's going to tell you, like, choose your company name is always the first one.
Mm-hmm. I'm trying to look for that. All right. Choose your company name.
It's going to be right in that section. I'm going to go back to it right now.
Mm-hmm.
What screen do you guys see?
I see the screen where it got like your your
Yeah.
Google stuff on it. Yeah.
Okay, good, good. And see, the great part is you will only have to research this one time because this is a federal standard. These are federal standards of corporations. So once you know the structures, anybody that says, hey, what about this? What about that? It's always the same. So let's, in Google, I'm going to put, what are the corporate and you could ask the question any way that you're comfortable with. You could put what are the types of corporation? What are the corporate? Let's see, P-R-P-O-R-H-P. What are the corporate types? Let's just say that. What are the corporate types? Just a basic question. Okay, so tell me when you see the answer right here. The different types of
corporations.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. So now I'm going to go into that because this is the most important thing that you need to know when forming a corporation. This is the backbone of everything you do after that. So I'm going to open this up. I'm going to have to get a faster speed internet. I see why they try to charge you so much for their internet service based on mega this and mega that.
Yeah, 5G, right?
Yeah, man, they get you, bro.
Yeah, man. So it's a difference.
You said it's a difference?
It's a big difference.
I mean, yeah, 5G is crazy, but I mean, there's a whole bunch of, stuff that comes behind that.
And you can have 5G and have like the 25 BP whatever's they
Yeah,
they measure
I have
it.
no idea, but it's just faster than anything that we have right now. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, because right now I have 200 gigs. That's what it is. It's like 100 gig download versus 200 gigs versus whatever. The lower your gigabytes, the slower you are.
Yep.
All right, so now you should see where it says 6 type of corporation. Which ones is right for your startup? You see that?
Yep.
Okay, good. So this is like I said, the backbone, right? So I'm going to jump down to those structures. All right, here it is right here. You see where it says S Corporation?
Uh-huh. Yes.
This will normally be the type of corporation that you will be creating. This is the most common form of a corporation. And we're about to tell you why. So an S corporation is a business entity. Here's the key part. A business entity that passes almost all finances through to its shareholders. Okay, these finances include income and losses, so as well as tax deductions and credits. By passing all of these finances through to the shareholders, S corporations are able to be taxed like partnerships, but gain corporate perks. Okay. So let me break that down. In fact, it's going to probably tell us right here. More specifically, this means that shareholders are responsible for their own income and loss. The S-Corp pays specific corporate taxes pertaining only to passive income and gains outside of what the shareholders keep. This allows S-Corps to avoid the double taxation that often comes with the C corporation. So you're hearing already, there's an S-Corp and there's a C-Corp, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the S-Corp, again, the important part of the S-Corp is the money that you make in the S corporation. Before you pay taxes on it, you can split that money up amongst the people in the corporation that's benefiting from that money. What is the benefit of splitting the money up before being taxed on it?
Because it'll decrease how much you actually have to put out.
Exactly. And it also decreases what your company itself has to pay in taxes. Because if the company made $1 million and there's the three of us in this company, there's me, you, and Chris, the three of us on this call, right? So the company made $1 million clean and clear after it paid all its expenses and everything. So if we each have 25% ownership and revenue share, right? So if we're in a partnership and we say, okay, hey, whatever the company make, I get 25%, you get 25%, Jonathan gets 25%, and the company itself keeps the rest, right? So that means 25, 25, 25, 25. I'm just keeping the percentages even for the sake of the math right now.
Mm-hmm.
So that means that when it's time to pay taxes, my 25% is separated out from everybody else's. Your 25% is separated out from everybody else's. Chris's 25% separated out, and the business's 25% is separated out. I am now responsible for my own taxes. Chris is responsible for his own taxes. You're responsible for your own taxes. And the company is responsible for the company taxes. You follow?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, makes sense. Yes.
All right. That is the beauty of the S Corp as opposed to the C Corp, which we're about to get into now.
1 second.
Mm-hmm.
So when they mean by shareholders, that means the owners, right?
The owners. Remember, a corporation is even though you might be the only person that owns that corporation,
mm-hmm.
that simply means that you own 100 shares of the company.
So that means the sole proprietor, right?
That means that you're a corporation that can be treated as a sole proprietorship, except you have the protection of being a corporation.
Of being an S-Corp.
Yes.
Because I could still, like, if I wanted to divvy out the whatever shares that I have of my own company.
Yep.
All right.
Yep. You could bring partners in and give them a particular amount of shares based on their investment. So, which is why it's like, let's say somebody says, I have, like Chris, perfect example. Somebody says, Chris, I have a company breeding bulldogs, right? Let's take a live example, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that person now says, okay, I want you to be my partner. Well, what are you partnering in if it's not a real company? You know what I mean? How do you assign a percentage of shares, and how do you lock it in legally?
Yep. You can't really, you can't. I mean, not legally.
Not legally, exactly. Now let me show you the dangers of that. Okay. You tell this person, yes, I am now your partner in this bulldog business, right? And let's say you send out one blast on the internet saying, I am a partner in this bulldog business. Now, let's say that one of the dogs get loose and goes down the road and bites a child.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. You and that person are legally responsible for anything that comes with that bite. Any lawsuit that comes, you personally, your personal property, his personal property, all of that can be taken in that lawsuit.
Yep, absolutely.
And what corporation is this? The C-Corp?
No, this is without any protection. This is
a sole proprietorship.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So proprietorship. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So therefore, it makes sense that any business you're going to do, you simply want to create a corporate veil of protection for yourself. Okay. So even if, let's say your partner, Chris, didn't want to do a legal business, but if you're going to partner with him, you can then incorporate your side of the business to make sure that you can do those things and have your protection. Because now if that same dog goes out and bites somebody, you are actually fully protected on your end. Him on the other end will still have to deal with it on a personal level.
Wait,
if he's
run
not
that
listed.
back. I'm sorry. Like you said, if y'all have a business, if me and him have a business, right? And if we was to get sued or whatever, if I covered myself and did this, the S-Corp by myself and he didn't, I'll be protected.
If you didn't include him in your paperwork, if he is not listed on that S corporation paperwork as a protected person,
okay,
then he's at full liability on his
own.
Okay.
Okay. So this is what having your corporate veil does. And you'll hear it all the time. You know, they're hiding behind the corporate veil, or they have the veil of protection, or you'll hear that all the time. This is what businesses live for. They live to protect their owners. They live to protect the employees. They are like the shield around all those things that's willing to take the hit for you.
So let's say, for example, like you get a job at Walmart, right? And you know that's a big corporation, right?
Yep.
So if something happens at the Walmart, that you're involved in, like me as just a regular employee, stock worker, or whatever at a Walmart, am I protected underneath the company veil or
100%?
How is that possible? I'm just
100%. Let me show you how it's possible. Okay, you're working in Walmart, right? Let's say you're selling a big screen TV to somebody, right? And they're looking at the floor model. You're showing them the floor model, and you reach up to show them a feature on the floor model. You don't know that the floor model wasn't secure. So that floor model comes crashing down and hits the customer. Or better yet, hits you and the customer. So you're hurt and the customer is hurt. Okay? That customer is ready to sue, first of all. The customer is ready to sue you, but he can't sue you. You have nothing to do with it, even though you're the one that pulled it down. Guess why?
Because the corporate veil.
Because of the corporate veil. Because you are an employee of Walmart. You were there at the request of Walmart. You were there only for the purpose of achieving Walmart's goal of selling their products. You are an employee of Walmart. You are protected under the corporate veil. So that if they intend to sue you, great. But there is no me. You can only sue Walmart. Okay. But on the flip side, you as an employee of Walmart, guess what? You can say, well, hell, my manager should have told me that this wasn't secure. So guess I'm now going to sue Walmart because I'm hurt and I'm in the hospital. So you can't sue your manager because he's protected under the corporate veil, but you can sue Walmart. You get it?
Got it.
The actual company itself.
The company itself. That's why you're called an employee. You are in the employ of. So you are there only for their benefit. So they have all the responsibility of giving you a safe workspace, of making sure you're protected, making sure you have insurance, and making sure that you have disability and liability and all that other stuff. Because if something happens to you, they can technically be responsible for your care from the time you're injured till the day you're 65 and have to retire onto Social Security.
Not to get off topic, but what are those businesses that have you do your old like your old tax form? They don't.
Okay, all right. So now you are asking about a taxation, what we call a taxation loophole. So you are a corporation, right? So this is very important. You got to follow this. So you know how I'm always saying everything is state specific, right? So depending on the state you're in, if you are a corporation, it tells you that if you hire one person or more, you then have to acquire certain things. In some states, when you hire one person, from the time you hire one other person other than yourself, you have to get insurance on your business, right? The liabilities and the unemployment insurance and all those things, workman's comp, all that, right?
Yep.
What a lot of people do to get around that, to get around having to pay that insurance, which is pretty big depending on the business you're in. It could be $5,000 a year or more. So to get around that, a lot of people, they create what's called independent contractorships.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of.
Yeah, okay, makes sense.
Okay, an independent contractor is someone who does work for your company, but does not work for your company, is not employed by your company. So that means you are hiring an outside source to enter your property or your circle to do work within your circle for you. Okay, but you do not want the legal responsibilities for that person.
Okay, and question: are they still protected underneath the veil of corporation or no?
Okay, the answer there is yes and no. So I'm going to explain I'm going to explain the no part. The no part is because you're hiring them as an independent contractor, right? You want to make sure that that person has their own license and insurance. So for instance, if you are building a house, right? You are physically building this house. You are called the contractor, right? In the process of building that house, you may not know how to do your plumbing and your electricity, but you know how to put up the 4 walls and everything else, right? So you would have to bring in an electrician and a plumber to do that work in your house. They are considered independent contractors. That plumber that you hired to fix your plumbing will be licensed and insured. The electrician that you hired to run your lights will be licensed and insured. The reason you have to make sure of that is because you don't want to have to carry insurance for their work. If something happens, if they burn your house down or they flood your house, you don't want to be the one having the burden of paying for that. So you want to make sure that your independent contractors are licensed and insured. So if something happens, you know you can now put a claim into their insurance to replace them and get things repaired properly. Okay?
Yep.
So in that regards, the answer is no. They are not covered under your corporate veil, because the reason you hired them as independent contractor was because you did not want to have them under your corporate veil. If you wanted them under your corporate veil, what would they be called?
Employees.
Employees, exactly. Now, let me tell you where the yes part comes in. The yes part comes in where that independent contractor enters your property, enters your premises, right?
Mm-hmm.
And due to something of your fault, something you didn't secure, they are injured, right?
Yeah.
That becomes your fault. And then your insurance has to pay for that damage, because that is not something that was in the scope of the duties that you hired them to do.
Got it.
Okay? It's not in the scope of their contract. If you hired them to do electric work,
I didn't realize that the bag was.
if you hired them to do electric work, and in the process of them doing electric work, your ceiling caves in, that ceiling is not a part of what you hired them to do. And that ceiling is your responsibility. You have the right to make sure that ceiling was safe before you brought anyone in to do that work. So therefore, they are now under your corporate protection. But if everything would have gone according to plan, and if they were doing their job and got injured on their own, doing their own work, you have no liability to that. If he's putting together an electric socket and he gets shocked and has to go to the hospital, you have nothing to do with that. Okay?
Uh-huh.
All right. So now that's a C-Corp, right? And
That's a C-Corp that
I'm
does that?
sorry, no, that's an S-Corp.
Yeah, okay. I was about to say.
C-Corp. That's an S-Corp. But
All
I
right,
want you
cool.
guys to see before we move on. There's a paragraph, the second to the bottom paragraph that says, but there's a catch.
Yeah.
You see that?
Uh-huh.
Any shareholders of an S-Corp can't be corporations. Meaning, if you, okay, and you know how we're talking about corporations right now, right? If you were to create an LLC, okay, which is different from a C-Corp, it's still a corporation. It's just another type of corporation that we're going to see on this track. So keep that word in mind, LLC, okay?
Uh-huh.
All right. So now in this here, but there's a catch. Any shareholder of an S-Corp can't be a corporation. That means if you choose the S-Corp model, you cannot bring in a partner that's actually another company. So that means that you now, Chris, own this dog company, right?
Yeah.
If you choose to make this dog company a S-Corp,
Uh-huh.
you could not partner with a company that makes
LLC.
that
Like
makes
Victoria's Frenchie's LLC.
exactly. You couldn't
Wait, run
partner
that
with,
back. I'm sorry. When you cut him off, I didn't understand what was being said. I'm sorry.
okay. So if Chris owns a dog breeding company,
Mm-hmm.
he could not partner with let's say his company's name is Chris Chris Bulldogs, right?
Bulldogs,
Mhm.
yeah.
Okay. He could not then bring in a partner under the name of Frenchie's Bulldogs. Because one company cannot partner with another company under an S-Corp. The only thing you can do under an S-Corp is bring in a partner into the corporation.
Gotcha. Has to be another person.
Right. Has to be a person, and you would simply sign them on for a percentage share of your corporation. So
basically another independent person.
exactly. Exactly. And he would be your partner, your business partner. Okay. Whereas if you wanted to maintain your individual company, Chris, as Chris Bulldogs, and you wanted to partner with Frenchie's Bulldogs and market your brand as Chris and Frenchie's Bulldogs, right?
Uh-huh.
If you wanted to do that, you would then want to create an LLC structure. That's the only structure where two companies can become partners and therefore are only responsible for their own company's debts. So if Frenchie's Bulldogs partnered with Chris Bulldog LLC, Chris Bulldogs LLC would maintain its own set of books. When it buys its dogs, it would list the price of the dog, the care of the dog, and then when it does business with Frenchie's Bulldogs, it would have another set of books that outline just the business it's doing with Frenchie's Bulldogs. So an LLC will maintain multiple sets of books. For every
Gotcha.
venture you enter into with someone else, you will keep, or another business, you keep a separate set of books because every entity, every venture is different, and you have to be able to account for them independently.
Gotcha.
So it's something like, let's say Taco Bell and Wendy's. Like, you know how Taco Bell and Pizza Hut.
And Pizza Hut, perfectly so. That's exactly right. Those are independent companies under separate corporate LLCs coming together to share space and advertising. That's exactly right.
So like, all right, just so I get it down packed. Like, let's say I have a massage business and I want to partner up with another massage business and we want to do marketing and all this other stuff as together. So we would have to get a LLC with both of our businesses on it.
Yep. You don't have to. You could just create the LLC and then put that person's business under your LLC.
Oh, okay.
You follow?
Mm-hmm.
Because let's say you create Jonathan Hill LLC, right? And now your girlfriend, she's got Ebony Exotic Products, right? That's one brand, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can bring Ebony Exotic Products as a separate business under the Jonathan Hill LLC label.
Oh, so it's basically all right, and then we could divvy up whatever percentages.
Exactly. Whatever percentage of monies that company makes, the person that's the head of that particular branch, you assess a percentage to them, and you keep the other percentage. So that's and then you can do that with every company under that LLC.
Okay, and is this underneath the initial corporation, or that's separate from the initial corporation that I'm doing business elsewhere with?
Okay.
Because let's say I have an S-Corp, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I do, I'm sorry. So let's say I have an S-Corp, and then I want to partner with Chris on a similar thing, and so I would create the LLC and then put him underneath that.
You
So we
would
could do
create
the business?
you would create the LLC, put your S-Corp business under your LLC, and
Mhm.
then if Chris says, yes, I'll partner with you, then you
Mm.
put Chris's business also under your LLC.
Got it. Got it.
So the LLC is the corporate veil.
Got it. All right. That's core.
And now by doing that, but the LLC now gives you multiple levels of corporate veil that somebody would have to go through to get to you, the owner. Because remember, underneath the LLC are a bunch of individual corporations. So you got to pierce each corporate veil before you can even touch the LLC.
I think that's what my landlord did in Bronx.
Well, that's what all landlords do. If you're a landlord and you own multiple properties, you would be a fool to put all those properties under one corporation. You want to create an LLC and then put each property in its own corporate circle. And especially when it comes to apartments, because people slip and fall, babies fall out the window, shit burn up, all types of stuff happen in apartments. So you definitely want to protect yourself and have each of your properties individually protected. You don't want to put them all under the same corporation. And then if one thing happens in one building, that damage can spill over to all your other properties, and now you're broke with all the properties.
It's literally like putting all your eggs in one basket.
That's literally what it is.
Literally, yeah.
Yep. All right. So now let's see if we went over all the catches. Okay, so we talked about the fact that it can't be a corporation, nor can they be partners with the company. Meaning you can't have a company being partners with an S-Corp. You can't create those types of relationships with company to companies in an S-Corp. So this means shareholders are generally part of a trust or estate, or are individuals and nonprofits. Okay? So in my corporate structure, Jonathan, I don't know if you noticed that along with our for-profit entities, like, we've got all these other things that's for-profit, we created specifically the nonprofit entity because we know that we're going to have partners and investors and all of that with other businesses that they're going to need help on. And because they've created a C-Corp or an S-Corp structure already, we can't pull them in under the LLC, but we can pull them in through the nonprofit. You see how important it is?
Yeah,
that's why it's important that's why it's important to know these particular laws, because this is where honestly, this is where your clients think that you're smart. Because this is hard for them to figure out, because you literally got to stop and say, okay, let me create a spreadsheet in my head. And on that spreadsheet, here is C-Corps, here is S-Corp, here is sole proprietorship, here is LLCs, and here are the LPs, the licensed practitioners, like lawyers and doctors might be a LLC or LLP, right? So you create a spreadsheet, and then you put the differences in that pertain to each of them. Once you can see the differences in that spreadsheet, you got it straight in your mind. And that's the important thing, is your clarity in your head. When someone asks you, the first thing they're gonna ask you, and when they want to start a corporation, is, what type of company should I do? Should I do an LLC? Everybody hears LLC and they think that automatically that is the way to go. But LLCs, I'm gonna tell you, it's a great structure, but it's the most expensive structure to create and to maintain.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So unless you're planning a business that requires an LLC, you don't need an LLC. So, all right, so now
So basically, when I do my research and I do a certain type of business, I would have to see and look up if that business requires the LLC, or they would underline that as I'm doing my research. Like, all right, you would need an LLC if you want to do, let's say, plumbing business or XYZ business or whatever.
Well, you as the counselor that they're coming to for help, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're gonna simply look for you to guide them, and
Mhm.
you can't guide them unless you know. Back to number one, unless you get to know your client.
Mm-hmm.
Remember that. So in getting to know your client, he's or she is going to let you know what structure their business dictates. Because when you're asking them questions, like the first question is, tell me about your business, right? So let's take the conversation, Chris, that we had earlier about the Bulldogs, right? So you remember how I kept asking you, tell me about the business. Tell me this.
Yep.
Tell me about the insurance. Tell me about how the breeding goes. Tell me about how the sales and marketing go. All that stuff. Because
Just probe.
in hearing all that, I'm thinking, how would you structure that business? How do you want that business structured? Because the number one thing I could already tell you're going to need is personal protection. When you deal with anything to do with dogs, you need a veil of protection around you, because dogs get loose, dogs bite, dogs die, dogs, all this stuff.
Yep.
And if I just pay $10,000 for a dog and less than 30 days later it's dead, you're getting a lawsuit letter.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah. So Chris, are you really trying to do a bulldog business or no?
Yeah.
All right, just asking because I'm like,
Yeah, I know, but see, this is why you're a part of the group, Chris, because these are the things you need to think about in doing any business.
No, it's very, very true. Very true.
All right, so so now we're talking about protection and the S-Corp and the catches, right? So in that catch also, this limits who can be a shareholder. That's what we just talked about. And it allows you to take advantage of the lower corporate tax brackets in many cases. All right. The other thing, you're also limited to no more than 100 shareholders. But who the heck would want 100 partners?
Seriously, that's a lot. But I mean,
you would never make a decision.
yeah.
By the time you get the 51 of that 100 to agree,
Yeah, it's yeah.
it's
I
gone.
can see
Whatever opportunity that there was is gone.
Yep.
All right, so that part, I wouldn't worry about that too much. I just don't see anybody. If you're gonna do a 100 member thing, then you're gonna break it into boards, and then each board has a project that they're working on. So that way 100 people don't have to make one decision. All right, now here's the second classification. So take a second and absorb everything we just talked about S-Corp, because now we're about to lock that box in and open up a blank page for C-Corps. All right, so take a second and just absorb and think everything through that we talked about with S-Corps. All right. So now we're talking C-Corps, right? And the first thing it does tell you is that a C-Corp is similar to an S-Corp in that it can be a partnership, a corporation, or an LLC. A C-Corp is also privy to certain tax benefits, chief of which is the profits of the company are taxed independently of the profits of the owners. That's the similarity, remember?
Okay.
All right.
To the S-Corp.
That's right. That's the similarity to the S-Corp. However, unlike S-Corps, now we're going to get into the differences. Unlike S-Corps, a C-Corp can have any number of shareholders from any background. This means C-Corp shareholders can also be employees of the corporation itself. So Have you
Wow,
ever?
run that back. I'm sorry, run that last part back.
Okay. This means that C-Corp shareholders can also be employees of the corporation itself. You've ever heard the term employee-driven corporation?
I've heard that term before.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, you'll hear company says, you know, we're owned by our employees. A lot of airlines, like I think it's Spirit Airways, I think, or JetBlue, or
But
both.
Starbucks was like that too.
Yes. Okay, so you'll hear that a lot. Employee owned, employee driven. Okay, that's a C Corp. That means that the employees turn around and buy shares in the corporation. And all those employees together, all their shares have added up to more than 51% of the total corporation ownership. So, you know, when you go to the stock markets and you buy a company, well, what that company did was, quote unquote, go public, right? So if they're going public, instead of having hundreds or thousands of shares, they multiplied it by millions and just let it out to the world and say, okay, everybody gets a tiny piece. So in order for you now to own 51% of that company, and if they've got 100 million shares out there, and if each share is $1, let's say, that means you'd have to have 51 million of that $100 million company.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So with the C Corp, you can have any number of shareholders from any background. So that means that technically a C corporation can sell shares to individuals. That means that if you've got a network of 1,000 people and you needed money to generate money for your company, you can simply sell shares of your company to your family, your friends, your networks, and all of that. But now all those people become members of your board.
Is that similar to what we're doing with Cover Me Worldwide? Like, since I'm a board member, I technically have a share, or no?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. That's why the investments we do, the monies that you guys put in, all that stuff in the account, those are your investments. And that's why we keep track. That's why you guys have the option of doing the payouts, you know, and all that stuff. You know, a couple of people have sent in and over the holidays requesting a part of their payouts. They've gotten it, you know, so we keep it like that because you guys are vested in the company. Without you guys, the company doesn't have a payroll. So we have to make sure that the company does for you what it's set out to do, hence the intake forms. On the intake form, that's how we know what we have to do for you guys. We know as a company, yes, you're investing in us, but we have to invest in you too. So by doing that, we're achieving our goals by helping you guys achieve your goals. That's really our job. Our job is to help the members achieve their goals. That's our success.
Got it.
All right. So now, but a C Corp, here we go. Remember I said you just create a board, right? They're telling you right here. So this means that shareholders can also be employees of the corporation itself, but a C Corp must have a board of directors. So you remember your question, Jonathan?
Yes.
Do we have a board of directors?
Definitely we do.
Exactly. So that's the formula that we have, that we operate from as a nonprofit.
So most nonprofits are C Corps.
Yes, absolutely. In fact, all nonprofits are C Corps. You cannot be an LLC and be a nonprofit, and you cannot be you cannot be an S-Corp, because one person can own an S-Corp. You can be a one owner corporation. However, you cannot be a one owner nonprofit. By law, you must have a minimum of 3 individuals a president, vice president, and a secretary in the nonprofit. Okay. All right, you guys are getting some great information here. We're gonna keep running. How are you guys on time?
I'm good on time right now. I just got to be somewhere by before 8 o'clock.
Okay, no problem. We're gonna just run through this section here, just so you guys understand that. All right, so all right, so let's read the last part on the C-Corp, right? It says, if your plan is to grow your business and eventually sell it, a C corporation can be a great way to keep your personal assets as a separate legal entity from your professional corporation. You guys see that? It's all these things that we do by creating corporations is all about asset protection.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. So what I was saying, so as a C Corp, you can, if you want to sell your business, you can keep your assets. Is that correct? Or
Absolutely.
all right, if you want.
Absolutely. As a C Corp, see, even in our organization, right? We have people that if they run into trouble with their housing and they think they're going to be in danger of losing their home, right?
Mm-hmm.
They can literally sign their home over to us as a nonprofit. Okay, and that's their asset. They could sign it over to us as an asset. We would put it under the corporate veil, and under the corporate veil, you no longer have taxation. You know, the what is it? The property taxes and all that stuff. You no longer have all those things. All that goes away. And the company assumes all your debts and everything. We go ahead and zero it out, because as a nonprofit, we don't pay taxes and all the other stuff that the average person has to pay.
Yeah, that is so crazy. So, all right, let me get this right. So, let's say I was going through housing trouble as far as my home, right?
Yep.
So, is it possible that I'm also the person that owns the home and have a problem and have the C Corp? I could put it underneath the C Corp, my own C Corp.
Absolutely, because guess what? Your C Corp is not you, the person. You're not the owner.
Yeah.
You're a shareholder.
So now everybody that's underneath that C Corp as shareholders, they now own my property also now.
That's right.
Okay, got it.
That's why they can't come after it.
Got it. So it's good if I was to do that. Let's say, God forbid that situation was to arise with any one of us. So if we was to do that and we have our own little C Corp or whatever the case may be, it's best that we have like close family members and all that in the C Corp, because now, you know, I could kind of just throw that underneath there and get busy the way I need to.
Absolutely.
I got it.
Yep.
So like, what if I wanted to put my wife too, like as like?
Yeah, put her as a officer.
Oh, okay.
Yep, that's the beauty of a corporation. There are no owners, which is why come time to sue and people want to sue for this and sue for that. Well, you could sue, but you can't sue me. So you're gonna have to sue my corporation. But then again, you're gonna have to sue my insurance company and my lawyers and all that stuff. That's a hard fight. Hang on 2 seconds, guys.
Yeah, next time if I have you other day, I want you to join.
All right, I'm back. So yes, that's the thing. It's like when you go to court as an individual, right? Okay, give you an example. I don't know if anybody has ever been in this position. Have you received a letter from a creditor telling you that they're seeking judgment against you in court?
I have.
Yes, I have.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I still never showed.
Now
I actually went. I went.
Yes, and that's what I was going to say. If you go to that hearing, you will realize that it is you as one lonely individual against a corporate lawyer.
Yep.
And usually that corporate lawyer already knows the judge, he knows
Yep. That's
the person
exactly
in
how
the
it was.
room. You
Yep.
go in there, they're buddies sometimes
Yep.
talking. You're intimidated right from the start.
Yep. They got everybody lined up for the same exact thing as you.
That's right. And you
Yep.
become a part of a freaking system that just churns you out.
A
Yeah, but
circus.
true story, Andy. I went and my last name begins with the S.
Mm-hmm.
So at the end of the day, there was a good amount of people that went in front of me. Everybody had to pay a judgment except for me. I swear to God, lie to you not.
Mm-hmm.
I went to the judge, and basically I forgot what I studied throughout the whole time that I knew that I had the court date. I forgot. I was trying to use tactics, and I told myself if that didn't work, I would try this. I tried something at first. I forgot the name of it, but you can see the attorney for the debt collection company. He was like, oh, he even said something under his breath, like, oh, too late for that. Long story short, I told the judge, Your Honor, the only thing I'm gonna ask, that this person that I have no idea who they are said that I have some type of contractual agreement with them. I just want them to provide
Exactly. Your signature.
yeah, and they couldn't do it. And dude,
Yep.
he fucking slammed his pen.
Yeah.
He was pissed. The judge
Yep.
went up to him, like she looked at him. Dude, I couldn't even remember him saying anything, but
Yeah.
basically I was it. And man, everybody in that courtroom just stared at me looking like astounded, because
Yes.
everybody, I lie to you not, everybody
Yep.
had a judgment except for me.
Yes.
Every
Because
single body.
I'm gonna tell you what it is. The
I'd have
minute
been right
that
behind you, like, show me my signature too.
yes, but listen, remember, I always tell you guys, especially Jonathan, I think you went through this with me before. I tell you, we challenge everything. And if they can't prove to us that you signed for this, then they got to get rid of it, because that means they're a third party.
That is absolutely true. Yeah.
All right. And these are all the things that we're going to cover in our credit classes. These are the techniques that we are going to push the envelope with these creditors and show you how to push them and the whole nine, because they know that they don't have the laws on their side, but they are banking on you not knowing.
That is that actually you hit it. That's exactly what they bank on. Literally, that's how they make their money.
Yes. They make their money by sending you scary letters and making scary phone calls and getting you shook.
As sad as it sounds, basically off of our ignorance.
Yep.
Because continue, my bad. But it's funny because I haven't thought about that scenario in such a long time, but that was a true story, man. Very intimidating, man.
Very much.
Very.
And it's different when you go in knowing, though. It's always different when you go in knowing.
I gotta say,
absolutely.
To be intimidated, Chris, you did a very smart move, because you definitely looked it up and took that time to look it up.
I was confident. I was intimidated. I was but I was. It's one of those things where it's like you're not fearful because you have confidence, but you're still nervous. You never gone through this before.
Mm-hmm.
It's all a new experience, but I wouldn't take it back for anything, because it opened my eyes to the actual workings of our real world, to be honest.
Exactly. And I would say that in context that everybody, just like what you're saying, like everybody that was scared didn't take the initiative to read the dotted lines and in between to build the same confidence that you had.
You know what, too? What I think people fail to realize is they think that our government is here to help us and all this. And no, they expect us to be responsible for all of our affairs. Like, people don't even realize, like, an attorney is someone appointed to someone ignorant of the law. So I think it's like you have to learn how to stand your square, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And once you're able to do that, you can navigate through these waters.
I agree.
So
That's the key. It's like, I tell people there's certain fundamental knowledge that you have to have
yeah,
just to navigate this world,
yeah, seriously.
because if not, you can get caught up in a lot of bullshit very quickly.
Put it to you like this: a lot of people are in jail because of themselves,
Yes,
sadly,
because they don't know.
because they don't know,
Yep.
because they think that they're obligated to something, but they've
hmm
agreed to it.
And
Really.
they rather than doing their own research, rather than
Yep.
looking into their
They
own
hire an attorney.
problems, they listen to other people all the time. And
Yep.
that's why I said, it's okay to listen, or to hear. It's okay to hear, but
Yes.
listen to what you yourself have researched. Listen to
Yeah,
yourself. Hear others, listen to yourself.
that is true.
Yeah. So now nonprofits. This one we're going to run through real fast because we should know this one in and out.
Yep.
All right, so nonprofit, similar to traditional corporations, there's generally a board of directors, check, as well as donors, check, finances, backers, yes. Nonprofits generate no profits. Is that true?
No, not necessarily.
No, not necessarily.
Well, I'm going to say no, absolutely not.
Oh,
Absolutely not. It's no way you can say you're a business
yeah,
and not generate profit.
money. Yeah.
Okay, so whenever they say this, I'm always like, they say this so wrong, because that is not the point. That's not the case, rather. The second statement is the case. Okay, so it says a nonprofit generates no profit, right? So let's take that out. So as the name implies, a nonprofit must also be created in support of a specific cause. So if your cause is to improve the financial well-being of your members, don't you need to make a profit?
Yeah.
If your cause is to create jobs and housing for your members, don't you have to make a profit?
Yeah, absolutely.
And all nonprofits have employees. Don't they have to pay those employees?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
So whenever they say that, it is such a wrong statement. The statement really should read, a nonprofit cannot make a profit that is distributed to its members as profit.
Ah.
Okay? I could give you $1 million from the nonprofit, but
As long as it's not profit.
but it's not profit. It has to be for a specific reason, cause that's outlined in the nonprofit bylaws and mission statement. So our mission statement is to improve the financial well-being and financial lives of our members. So that means that we're supposed to put you in a house. That means we got to build up accounts that put you in that house. We got to have money to buy that house. So we have to make that profit.
Yep.
So no, just forget that little bit. Whenever you hear somebody say, "Oh, nonprofits don't make money," just know that it's wrong. It's the way that it's worded that makes it seem.
You know how they always get people, because when we think of nonprofits, we think of churches, schools.
Yes.
You know.
Can I tell you?
That
some of the highest paid executives out there
are the church deacons.
and nonprofits. Do you know hospitals? You know these hospitals, the heads of these hospitals? Do you know how much they make?
I can't even begin to imagine.
And you know the hospitals are nonprofits, right?
Yeah, I would bet so, yeah.
So, if I'm making a million or $2 or $3 million a year as a head of a nonprofit, I'm making the same as the head of a private sector company.
Yep.
How
you're structured.
It's how it's structured and the wording that's used.
Yep.
Semantics will free you, or semantics will lock you up.
That is so true.
All right, so I'm going to skip through the nonprofit and go to everyone's favorite.
Seriously.
All right, so LLC companies. Okay, so now this is where everybody seems to navigate to. Everybody thinks that this is where they fit. But listen to this and tell me, do you think most people are going to fit here? Okay, A limited liability company, also known as a limited liability corporation, LLC, is a business entity that prioritizes, here we go, prioritizes the separation of the people in the business and their personal liability. That's what an LLC focuses on, separation. Separation of multiple businesses, separation of debts, and separation of liabilities, and separation of profits and revenues, and who owes what for what project. Okay, that's it in a nutshell. And now we'll run through the rest of it, because after that, everything else is basic. Similar to other corporate types on this list, an LLC, like I said, everything else is going to mesh into corporations right now. LLCs protect members from being financially responsible for damages, same as the corporations, whether it's an S-Corp or C-Corp. More specifically, however, an LLC protects the personal assets of the owners in the event of a lawsuit or any kind of financial damage. And I'm going to add, that stems from any company under that LLC. Okay.
Run that right back so I can write that down real fast.
Okay. Which part do you want me to run back?
LLC protects
protects members,
yeah,
from being financially responsible for damages.
All right, got you.
Okay. All right, so forming an LLC requires articles of incorporation in which the structure of the business is laid out. Unlike a C-Corp, no board of directors is required for an LLC. In fact, an LLC can choose almost any structure desired, meaning it can imitate an equal partnership. It can have a board of directors if it wants one, or it could fall somewhere in the middle. So an LLC is kind of like being able to draw freehand, as opposed to tracing something that's already laid out for you. Okay. LLC offers additional perks, including simpler financial structures than corporations, taxations at a personal level, not a corporate level, and the ability to own multiple pieces of real estate under different LLCs to limit taxation. Remember I said particularly when it comes to real estate?
Mm-hmm.
And that's why. Okay. And which one do you think they left for last?
Sole proprietor.
Because they don't want you to mess with that one either. All right. A sole proprietorship is a one-person show. A sole proprietorship, the business and the person are one and the same, with no legal separation between the two. This means the person, the person, is personally and financially responsible for any debts or damages. After reading that, would you even want to read more?
No. Seriously. Why would anybody want to continue that?
Sheesh. All right. All right. And now a general partnership is just two forms of those entities coming together to create one business. All right. The only one that cannot be a part of that general partnership is who?
Think about it like this.
A corporation?
S-Corp.
S-Corp, yeah.
All right. S-Corp is the only one that cannot join a partnership with another business. Keep that in mind. If you ever think you want to do a partnership with another business and you want that business to be in charge of its own debts and its own credit and its own responsibilities, and you're responsible for your own debts and your credit and your responsibilities, and you're just putting whatever portion of your percentage and they put their portion of their percentage to make your deal happen, that's in the realm of anything other than an S-Corp. You can make it a C-Corp or you can make it an LLC, but you don't want to make it an S-Corp if you want to keep your businesses separate. If it's an individual and you want to be partners with that individual, then you can bring them into your S-Corp as a partner within the S-Corp.
And under the LLC.
And under the LLC. Okay. So do you guys see why this section here is the most important thing to know in the business formation process? Once you can get your clients past this phase, everything else is easy from there. And I'm going to show you what I mean by that.
Okay.
Once your client decides this is the structure that I want to be, or once you help guide them to understanding that this is the structure they want to be, everything else is uniform from there. Tell me when you see this page, the CMCW steps to know.
Yeah, I think I met Mr. Braga before. That's the one that
bought his house.
Yeah, that's
yes.
exactly. Yeah,
that's the one. I just put him in the house. Exactly. I'm glad you met him. Yes, he is so happy with that house, man.
Oh, really?
Yeah, this is why he's now his business that he's doing, because he's got all this space in the yard and everywhere. He's doing the hotel and home maintenance and business maintenance and all of that with references from his hotel chains.
Oh, wow.
Yes. And he just bought all his equipment, his pickup truck, everything. And you know, you're in Pennsylvania. You're gonna be working all day in that snow.
Yeah.
All right. So this is what we do, fellas. This is what we do. We make people's dreams come true, particularly our members, each other, us.
That's good. That's good.
All right. So from there, all you're going to do now is just simply follow this guideline. I laid this out for us to make it easy, right? So look at number one. Just simply decide on the name. You would simply ask that client. So Manuel, he threw out several names to me. I took it and I went one further. So you see underneath it, the where it says all seasons property care?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. So initially, he wanted it simply to say 4 seasons property maintenance, right?
Okay.
But as the person that he's coming to help him form a successful business, why do you think I put all seasons as opposed to 4 seasons on top?
Because it broadens the whole thing. You could be any season, like instead of just the 4 season.
Okay, but there's a bigger reason.
4 seasons is already taken?
No, think about this, right? As a new business, your biggest thing is going to be being found.
Oh, yeah. So as soon as you search 4 seasons, what's going to come up? The hotel.
Right. And then,
That's very true.
but all, the A, just with the letter all, puts him on top of every list.
Oh, yeah, that's true too.
You see, when you think of a business, the question is, where's your business going to fall in the directory of businesses?
But how would you know that though? Like, how would you know this would be better than this if you don't even have the business registered with all that type of situation?
Because alphabetically, it's inevitable.
I got it.
Just alphabetically, and you'll see that if you pull up anything, it's always the alpha first. Mom, I'm gonna meet and I'll call you afterwards. Okay, no problem. I'll check in and I'll get back with you. All right, bye. Yeah, so you know how your name falls in the phone book?
Yep.
Yeah.
It's the same way with your business name. If you go to Google and you pull up property care, it's coming up alphabetically. So part of excuse me, part of our job when we're helping our clients put together their business, we have to be on the outside looking in.
But can't
We
you
have
pay
to,
can't you pay like a company to push you higher up on the search engine
of course
listing?
you can. Of course you can. But that means that you're already incurring your client an expense when this is some way that he can avoid one little tiny expense.
Yeah, that's like a free little, I guess you could say like a cheat code.
Like a booth.
Yeah, it's like a boost,
Yep.
a free boost at that.
Yep.
You know, and these little subtle things tells your client a lot about the way you're thinking of his business or her business.
Like you thinking about their business like it's your business.
Exactly right. All right. So I created this sheet, and I also the same format is what I use to share my information with my client after I find it. So notice I gave him two name choices that I thought fit what he was looking for. He actually chose the one I put on top because he understood where it would fall in the alphanumeric of it all. All right. Then I also let him know that the name may be checked for availability, where it's going to be. You know, I give him all of the information down to the fee of what it's going to cost him to file it. You notice that?
Yes.
Okay. And then I ask the question, do you want to reserve the name in advance? Because if so, I'll go ahead and reserve it as long as he checks off yes. I don't do.
How do you reserve it?
Everything is online that we do. Everything is online. You see, I even give you the online click on right there. You're going to have all of that. All right. Next is you cannot form a company with the state without completing these documents. This is the article of incorporation. Okay, you'll hear that every time. You cannot. There's two things you're going to do. You're going to do the articles of incorporation for corporations, and you're going to do the articles of organization for LLCs. They sound the same, but they're two different things. Articles of incorporation are for corporations. Articles of organization are for LLCs and nonprofits. All right.
Okay.
So for the articles of incorporation, these are the things that you're going to need to know. You're going to need to know what is the corporate name going to be. You're going to need to know the address of the corporation. You're going to need to know the name and address of the agent for service of process. Every corporation must have what's called a registered agent. Can you tell me what you think the registered agent's role is?
To make sure everything is right on a legal standpoint?
Partially, absolutely, but partially. So the registered agent, the state that your corporation is formed in, will not search for you. If something is wrong, if somebody files a complaint, when your taxes is due, they need to send you a notice. They will not look for your corporation. They simply want you to tell them what address will never change for your corporation and who is the person at that address that will always be willing to accept letters for your corporation. Every corporation must have that.
So what would be the best address to tell them to put for the corporation? Would it be like your home address or like a different place that you're renting out? Or
okay, I'm going to say this. If you live in a house, meaning not an apartment, but a house, then you can use your house address as your registered agent address. The problem is most states require that the registered agent's address be different than the physical address of the business, because they figure businesses tend to close up and move and so on and so forth. but the registered agent address is actually their residential address, or if they're a business, there's a business that does nothing but registered agency, then they would use that address. But for us as individuals, particularly, let's say you, Jonathan, you would be able to use your home address, for instance, as your business address, and then you could get a PO box for your residence, your registered agent address. But I would actually say to do it in reverse, because unless you think you're going to move soon or something like that, you want correspondences to get to you fast. So I always let my home address be the registered address, and then the PO box be the business address, because unless I'm expecting that business mail, that's okay. But the registered agency stuff, when the state sends you documents, it's usually timed. They normally have a time limit on it, and you want to get that document right away. So I normally use the address that's closest to me as my registered agent's address. All right. So that's B. There's the name. So C, number of shares the corporation is authorized to issue. If you're the only person in that corporation, you don't need to issue more than 100 shares, and you would issue all of them to yourself. The name and address of each incorporator. Usually you only need one incorporator. The incorporator is simply the person that's filling out the paperwork for the company, right? So when I create businesses for people, if I have to use the company's credit or debit card to pay for the online services, then I would put my name as the incorporator. A lot of times my clients give me their credit card information to just go ahead and make the payments, in which case I put them as the incorporator. The reason I do that is if you list yourself as the incorporator and the state needs to get in touch with someone, they're going to send a letter to both the incorporator and the registered agent. So unless you want to get mail for as many companies as you end up creating, then you want to list the person that you're doing it for as the incorporator. So you're not, you don't have to follow up with all this stuff afterwards. You want to just do it and be done. All right. Let's see. The number of shares, incorporator. The effective date of the article, right? When you write your articles of incorporation, the effective date is the same day that you create your business online. So whatever day you go online to do it is usually the same day the articles go into effect. All right, articles must be accompanied by the new, in Pennsylvania now, this is specific to Pennsylvania, because this is like one of the few states I've seen this, new entity docket statement. So in Pennsylvania, that's a requirement. That's why we always go online and look up the requirements for each state when we have a client from those states, because we want to make sure we don't miss something just because we don't know of it. The states will tell you everything they need to register that business. So this new entity docket, it includes the corporation's name, the name and address of the person responsible, and this is different now than registered agent. They want the name and address of the person responsible for what? Look at that. Anybody follow me on this?
Yeah, I see it.
What is it they want?
Additional tax reports.
Exactly. Because if you form a corporation in that state, after your first quarter or year, they want you to file taxes. And if you don't file taxes, they want to know who's the person that's responsible for filing these taxes, because we want to know why that person hasn't filed your taxes. They are not playing with their taxes, because corporations tend to pay the majority of the taxes in the United States, even though they get these huge tax breaks, they still end up paying quite a bit of taxes unless they're Trump corporations. All right, commercial resolution. See, its purpose. All right, so they want to know the purpose of the business, right? So its purpose, commercial and residential general property care. Okay. Its effective date, the date filed. EIN. EIN, you can't get an EIN number until you incorporate the business, because you need to know what the full name of the and full and legal name of the business is going to be. So I just put pending corporation. Fiscal year ends. I always advise my clients to end their fiscal year on December 31st of the year you're in. Why do I do that? Well,
It just falls in line with the end of the year.
exactly. Make your business easy on yourself.
Yep.
All right, because the truth of the matter is, you have a fiscal year and you have a calendar year, right? So your fiscal year technically is every quarter that your business is open. So every what, 3 months is your fiscal year, and there's taxes that you're supposed to file. If you're a revenue generating business, you're supposed to file what's called quarterly income tax, right? So if you end your fiscal year on December 31st every year, especially starting your business off that first year, it gives you a stopping point to get your business caught up and up to date for the next year. That first year of your business is usually a very crazy year for you. So you want to give yourself a stopping point where you can say, this is the year end of my business, and how much did I make for the year? As opposed to if you started your business in April, then you literally got to remember, okay, April, May, June, July. Then it's August, September, October, November, December, January. Oh, wait, but it's December 31st. I don't need to do nothing. That's going to feel weird come December 31st. And you're still operating like there's nothing going on, and the rest of the world is doing their taxes. So to make it easy for yourself, try to end your fiscal year on the last day of the year. All right. Every state has their filing fee. For this one, it's $125. All right, the registered agent. Every Pennsylvania corporation must have an agent for service process. We talked about that. Then it tells you about bylaws. They must have bylaws. Bylaws are an internal corporate document that set out the basic ground rules for operating your corporation. They are not filed with the state. Your corporation is not legally required to have corporate bylaws, but you should adopt them because they establish your corporation's operating rules. Okay? So bylaws are only for companies that are multifaceted, like what we do, right? We have all these different things. We got the investment, we got the workshops, we got this, that, and the other. So we have to have bylaws, articles of operating agreements, all these different things we have to have. But if you are the general overseer of your company and you are the only one that you got to answer to and you make all the decisions, who do you need bylaws for?
Mm-hmm.
Do you follow me? So bylaws are only when you have multiple people within your organization and now you have a state obligation to make sure you're rolling out information equally to everybody. You can't tell one person this is how we operate and then tell another person, no, this is how we operate for you, just you. No, it doesn't work like that. All right. Every company must comply with their tax and regulatory requirements. Okay. Now, I'm gonna show you how we make money off this process, guys. So of course we charge a fee for this entire process. So just for forming the corporation, I charge anywhere from $300 to $750 for an LLC is $750. 300 is for a regular corporation. My fees and the state fees are different, right? So someone says, well, how much would you charge me to do a corporation? I say, well, my fee is X and you pay the fees for the state. I always show them the fees for the state. It's going to show up on their credit cards. It's going to show up in receipts. So there's no way to change that around. So let them be involved with that process. Keep it honest, keep it real. And the more involved the person is with their financial decisions, the more honesty, the more trust that relationship builds. So let them know what the fees are up front. Whatever you choose to charge is up to you. All right. When we work, once you finish training and you come into the group, we as a group, we set prices because in our prices, your pay is in that price, and that'll be broken down also. You guys when you bring in clients and you're doing the work and all of that, it only makes sense that you make the majority of the money. So that's how we're situated. You guys will always be the ones making the majority of money. The company keeps a little bit just to keep operating. So this is ways that we're just trying to make sure that everybody is increasing their financial situation by learning these tools, and then we give you customers to apply them with. And of course, we'll be doing them together because I'll always have the same issues that you guys will be having. All right, EIN. The extra money comes in. Let me go back to that. So someone says, I want you to form a corporation for me. You give them a fee to form the corporation. Great. Your duties under that fee ends here. When you've done the articles of incorporation and so forth, right? Most people, they want the full shebang. All right, so that's when you let them know, okay, what else can I do for you? Well, I can then do your EIN number, or if they want bylaws, the bylaws, you charge them well for this, and I'll show you why. The bylaws, depending on the organization, can be as thick as a book. All right, I have the program for you guys that actually you're going to ask them a few questions, you're going to fill in those questions, and it produces that bylaw in the format that's legal. Okay, so in other words, you're not going to have to create any of this stuff from scratch. But as far as your clients are concerned, this is all your work. Okay,
yeah.
All right, you're just simply asking them the pertinent questions. Then you're going to come back to the database, fill in those pertinent questions, and get your results, which is the full bylaws. All right. And again, that's a separate fee. Taxation requirements, right? EIN numbers. That's the easiest thing for anyone to get. In fact, it's free. There's no charge for an EIN number. Most business people, however, just don't want to do the legwork. They don't want to even get on the computer. So we created a fee where it's very simple, 25, 30 bucks, and we'll do that for you. You know, it's nothing that they're gonna say, oh my God, why so much if it's free? You don't want to do that. But you know, $25, $30, they'll be like, okay, that's no problem. Go ahead and do that for me.
Yeah, right? But like you said, since it's free, you could always give them the option if they wanted to do it themselves.
Absolutely, that's what we do.
Yeah. So it don't look shady. Like
that's absolutely right. We do that absolutely. The extra money stuff. That's why it's extra money, because these are things they can do themselves.
Yep.
And we tell them that, you know, and I even encourage it. To be honest with you, I encourage a new business owner to get their hands wet. Because if not, you're going to end up being that business owner that never knows your business, and people will be taking money out your pocket left and right just because you can't tell them yes and no because you don't know how to do it yourself. It's like a mechanic that's never worked, that owns a body shop, but's never worked on a car.
Right.
All right, so the EIN. And then everything is just filing. Do they need a license for the business, right? That's more money for you, especially if it's a business that needs a license. You say, okay, you know what? Let me research the licensing process now and see what it will take for you to get your license. And this is going to tell you if that person is serious about the business or not. If they don't even know if their business requires a license, that's a red flag.
Yeah, they should know that.
You should know that. When you say to yourself, I want to do this business, every step that I just outlined to you, down to going on the websites and looking up what's needed to operate that business successfully, is what everybody in the world should do when the day they get up and say, I want to start a business. You have to educate yourself. All right. So now, this is the paperwork aspect of it, right? How do you apply this in real life? If you guys are interested in seeing this applied, I will actually be creating this company. I was going to do it tonight, but if you want to see it, I can wait till tomorrow at 4 o'clock again and physically do this online with you guys.
Yeah.
I'm down. But
Yeah.
the thing is, 4 o'clock is a stretch for me. I had to rush on my way here because I get up at 3:30. So, Chris, is it
No,
good for 5 o'clock?
Yeah, man. If 5's good for you, it's great for me.
Okay.
All right, because I can
Let's
go
say-
beyond that. It doesn't matter, but seems good to me.
Let's say 5 o'clock tomorrow then, and we'll create a company.
All right, sounds good.
All right, gentlemen. Great lesson. Thank you
All
very
right.
much for your time.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you for your
All right, Jonathan,
thank
man.
you for your time, man.
Anytime,
Andy.
man. That's why I'm here.
And I'm sorry for the background. My girl is totally
Nah, we good. We good, man. We're one family here, brother.
All right. I got
all
you
right,
guys. All right.
Later on. Tell your wife I say hi.
All right.
All right. Later,
All right,
Chris.
brother. All right, peace, Andy. Later, Jonathan.